today's topic of discussion is going to be how are Yama and Niyamas sometimes an obstacle for a seeker? How can they be obstacle for the spiritual seeker, aspirant of yogic practice? Yes, so Yama, as we said, Ahimsa is the first. Ahimsa or non-violence must be at 3 levels. What are these 3 levels?
Thought, speech.
Kaik, vachik and manasik. Thought, speech and action. All these 3. There must be non-violence. There must not be any self-harm. At the same time, we discussed there must not be self-harm. There must be no violence inflicted on the self as well as the others. Then we talked about Satya, being in constant practice of truth. We discussed here that for something as simple as mantra chanting, which is very, very essential for every spiritual seeker, and it is something a spiritual seeker enjoys a lot. For the mantra chanting to be very effective, if the seeker starts being continuous in the practice of truth, the mantra starts acting differently for the seeker. The instrument, which is the tongue, which is for the practice of the chanting of mantra, becomes purified. So this purification of the tongue with the help of truth helps the spiritual seeker, the yoga aspirant, gain maximum benefit out of the meditation of mantras. So these are small things which the seeker is not aware of. We simply feel that we can sit and start chanting any mantra. We can perhaps purify. There can be Soucha at the level of the body. But what about the instrument of the mantra, which is the tongue? That also needs to be taken care through Satya, practice of truth. And how must this Satya be? Mridu, soft spoken truth. Even if you are speaking the truth, it must be in line with Ahimsa. It must not hurt or harm the other person. If you are speaking the truth too, has to be very, very soft or mridu. Yes, then the next, Asteya, non-stealing. There is a wonderful narration. Yes, wonderful narration. We will discuss about that today. Small narration. A small narrative, a story upon Asteya. Would you like to listen to it? Once upon a time, as each story goes, this is in the Vedic times, there was a priest for a king. There was a priest who conducted ceremonies for the king. So this priest was very, very honest and truthful, was very dedicated, surrendered to his work. He knew his duties towards the throne and ensured that every ceremony was conducted correctly. Now, sometime later in the time, the priest was blessed with a baby boy. So being a priest, a Brahmin priest, yes, he also knew how to look at the horoscope. So he was very excited to check the future of his son, of this newborn baby. So he started calculating, seeing the time of birth, the place of birth, which was the star in the sky on that day, so on and so forth. When he created his horoscope, he was taken aback by a truth he found in it. What was it? There was a prophecy. Yes, there was the condition in his astrological chart which said that this son would grow up to be a thief. This son would grow up to be a thief. He would be committing a theft and would also be caught in public. So the priest became very, very worried. He said, I am the royal priest. My entire life has been into the practice of truth. I have done everything piously, everything correctly. I don't know what karma it is that my son is going to face this in his life. His karma would be that of a thief. But let me try to start working on it immediately. So the priest and his wife immediately leave the royal palace, go far away from the palace, outskirts of the city, and make their home they build a home made out of stones. The walls are so high, everything in the house is made up of stone. There is nothing that glitters or shines in the house. Everything is absolutely bland. So this young boy, this young lad, yes, grows up in this place, observing stones and pebbles everywhere. No art, no beauty, none of it. The priest is feeling happy with himself. How I have kept my son away from all kinds of desires. He's not in contact with the world where anything would attract him and he would feel like possessing it. One day it so happens, it's also the time where the king's daughter has grown up. So he invites the priest and says, I am planning the wedding of my daughter. And I am thinking that this generation onwards, from this wedding onwards, I make your son the next priest. I announce him as the next Raj Purohit or the priest of the throne. I am certain you have raised your son with highest of qualities. I am certain that whatever teaching you have given him is going to benefit the kingdom. So I want to take this opportunity of my daughter's wedding and let everybody know, announce to everybody that he is the next priest. Now this father, the priest, is extremely worried. He cannot deny the king's order or he will get beheaded. But at the same time, he is worried that his son would see everything in the palace and he knows for certain that my son will not leave the palace without the theft. Because it's such a strong astrological position in his chart. Walking back, yes, walking back, he comes home. Walking back, he comes home. He tells his wife and his son that, tomorrow we are going to meet the king. We are going to announce you as the next priest of the kingdom. So you have to join me. All that I have taught you about ceremonies, you have to start practicing. The son is very excited. But the priest, the father, says to himself that I will not leave the lad away from my sight. I will be closely. Wherever he goes, I will follow. He goes to the bathroom, I am going to follow him there. I will follow him closely. In that way, there will be no theft committed by him. So they go to the palace. Now this son, there is so much of glitter in his eyes the moment he sees different lights, plates made out of silver, drinking out of a glass made out of silver. Yes, he says the water starts tasting sweet. What is this metal? Every cup he touches, he's eyeing the throne. Yes, he's looking at the bride, the king's daughter. She's wearing so many jewels. He cannot take his eyes off the jewels. So although he is reciting and conducting the ceremony, this now new priest has the thoughts of the valuables that he's seen. He decides to himself, I am not leaving the entire palace without taking something from here. Yes, I will wait for the right opportunity to steal something. Now father knows this, so he is very, very close to the son. He's not leaving the son anywhere. The day completes, the ceremony of the wedding, the vows have also been taken. Yes, for the wedding rituals have been completed. Interestingly, the king calls the father, says, you know what, the ceremony is towards the end. Can you come here and help me? We just need to check off. If we've seen all the guests, we have given everybody as it must be as per the ceremony. And the father has to excuse himself. So the son is now alone. Son immediately takes this opportunity and hides behind a pillar. The palace is very huge. He hides pillar to pillar because there are guards. He's waiting for the change of guards, that the morning guards will go and the evening guards will come, because the morning guards already know that he's the next future priest. So he's behind the pillar, and the moment there is a change of guards at night, it's the dark time, his father has also now come back and he knows, I have lost my son. I came back after seeing the king, but I cannot spot my son, which means he will definitely commit the robbery. I cannot do anything right now. And with a heavy heart, the father starts walking home. The son, the moment there is a change of guards, starts entering the royal palace, the main rooms, the main buildings where there is storage of all the valuables. Now, he goes there, he sees a spoon made out of silver. He says, this is the smallest. The moment he picks up, he remembers that his father has taught him Danda Shastra, the law book of punishment. So the father has been smart from childhood. He taught the son what is the punishment for each sin committed. So the moment he picks up the spoon, he remembers, oh, if I steal a spoon made out of silver, this is the punishment at the karmic level. He keeps the spoon down. Because the father has taught him this first, and all of it starts coming to him. He picks up a plate. He's reminded of the punishment, what happens at the karmic level if I steal this. He goes to see a beautiful vase made out of gold. He picks it up. He says there is a punishment for this too. He goes to see the crown, yes, where the servants have preserved it. The moment he goes near the crown, he looks at the crown and he is reminded of the punishment, karmic punishment, if the royal crown has been stolen. So this lad feels very, very disappointed. Says, everything I touch in this palace, I am reminded of the punishment that follows this sin of taking it away, stealing it away. I cannot take. There is nothing in this palace that I can steal. So with a heavy heart, he says, let me see if there is something outside. So he goes out. The moment he goes out, he sees the stable. And in the stable of the horses and the cattle, he sees a fodder, bag full of fodder for the cattle. He says, there is no mention about stealing the fodder. Finally, I found something in the palace which I can steal without the punishment at the karmic level. So very happy, he takes up the grass, dried grass and fodder meant for the cattle and fills his entire, the pagdi or the hat and his jacket. Now, as he is doing this and trying to escape, yes, with the big pagdi now is in his hand, the guards feel he's taking something, he's caught. They say that we are going to present you to the king next morning. This had to happen. He has committed a theft. He cannot go away from the sight of the guards. Next morning again there is a change of guards. The previous guards come and the night guards hand over this boy to them. They are surprised. They feel this, he looks like the priest, new priest we had yesterday. Yes, but anyway, he's committed a sin. It's our duty to present him to the king. So as the king enters the courtroom, this lad, this new priest is brought in front of the king. The king is taken aback. My next priest to be has already committed a robbery in the palace. But he's very surprised. He says, what has he stolen from the royal palace? The guards say, Master, O king, he has stolen the fodder for the cattle. The king is surprised. He says, fodder? He calls the lad. He says, there was gold, there was silver, there were numerous jewels here. There were crowns studded with jewelry, bangles. You did not steal anything. What made you steal the fodder? I need to know. I am interested to know. Why did you not steal anything else but the fodder? So he says, my father is the reason for this. Now by this time, father has also joined the court like every day next morning. He knew he had to see this day. He says, my father has taught me the law book. Yes, Dharma Shastra, which has a section known as Danda Shastra in it. Danda Shastra is what kind of punishment is to be given in the court. So I have memorized that as a child. Anybody who makes any sin, who commits any sin or has done anything wrong, what is to be the punishment? So each time I picked up an object, although I was filled with desire, each time I picked up something from your palace, I was reminded of the punishment. As a result, I could not touch anything because I knew what follows at the karmic level, what will be the punishment for it. Finally, I could see some dried grass. And since I had decided to take something from the palace, it gave me immense joy that in the Danda Shastra there is no mention of this dried grass. Therefore, I stole this. So the king embraces. Yes, he says, such an honest man. I make you my minister. Such an honest man says, I make you the minister. I am very certain that your father has trained you in such a way that no matter what my kingdom has, you will never steal anything from it. So the father builds the son to be strong on Asteya. What does the father do? Builds the son to be strong on Asteya, not directly, but indirectly. Each time the son meets this motivation to steal something, he would be reminded of the punishment. So the Shastras or scriptures also act in this way. They are a reminder. So in Yama Niyamas, there is high significance given to Asteya, non-stealing of material goods, non-stealing of knowledge. One cannot steal or keep the knowledge with them which does not belong. You are supposed to be mentioning your teacher, your guru. Yes, Asteya is clear? Narrative was nice? Yes. So one quality of Asteya ensured that this boy was elevated to a higher position in his life. It's not that we are not free from desires. We all have desires, but the Shastras or the study of scriptures help us have viveka or discrimination between right and wrong. So desires are, even if they rise up in the heart, the action is not committed as per the desire. It is committed as per the dharma, what we are supposed to do. After Asteya, what did we talk about? Brahmacharya, sexual discipline. Yes, and then Aparigraha, non-hoarding. We discussed that living a minimalistic life is very, very important. The moment you start lessening the things around you, the very moment the thoughts in your heart, in your head, the emotions too, you will see, start lessening up. The thoughts in your mind too, lessen up. You're decluttering outside and there is decluttering happening inside. Now the moment you have lesser thoughts in your mind, also there are lesser emotions in your heart. Which means you respond not in the state of emotions, you respond with clarity. Since you are practicing minimalism, the people around you, even if they are there with you, for you, you start expecting less from them. Because the minimalism is also applied there. We are seeing from the outside looking in. We are training the body so that there is a change that takes about in the mind. Yoga is a psychological philosophy. Very correctly, very accurately, Sage Patanjali has devised each of these limbs to bring about a change within us. That was about Aparigraha. Then we move towards the, what are the niyamas? Soucha. Soucha is cleanliness, purification. Yes, clean thought, speech, action. All the three, Soucha. Cleanliness at the level of the body, and along with the body, the thoughts, speech and action. Then Santosh or contentment. I decide what is enough. Because it's a monkey mind. Once I possess one object, the monkey mind is going to jump to another object. Once I buy a sea-facing villa, I will want to buy one more sea-facing villa at some other island. So the monkey mind is bound to jump object to object. So I need to decide where I am content. Then we talked about Swadhyaya, self-study. We said that whatever we do listening from the teacher, the Shravana, only in Swadhyaya, whatever we have heard from the teacher, when we practice it, we start embodying it. Swadhyaya, self-study. Even if you are a teacher, yoga teacher, you must have at least 1 hour of self-study to whatever subject that you are teaching. Then, Tapas. What is Tapas? Tapas is Dvanda Sahanam, duality of happiness, suffering at the level of mind, duality of hunger and thirst. at the level of prana, and duality of hot and cold at the level of body. Dvanda sahanam. Tapas is rising above this duality. There is duality, yes, in our experiences at the level of body. When we say Himalayan sages, they are into tapascharya, they are trying to rise above this dvanda in extreme cold conditions, hot and cold. At the pranic level, hunger and thirst, and at the mental level, happiness and suffering. After tapas, Ishvarapranidhana. Surrender. Surrender to the teaching, surrender to the Ishvara. Surrender to the higher power. It is an important quality to be cultivated by the seeker of surrender. Ishvarapranidhana, surrender to the higher power. Ishvara is a special Purusha. When we study Sankhya, we will discuss more about Ishvara. Then, after Ishvarapranidhana, surrender to God, then? Yes, then we start with asanas. So we see for the practice of asanas, Yama Niyama are very, very important. Only when you practice the Yama Niyama, you are eligible for asanas. It's not that you wake up one morning and you start practicing asanas. If you are in complete practice of Yama Niyama and then you are in the practice of asanas, your experience is drastically elevated. The body and the mind is so light. What happens with Yama Niyama? The body and mind becomes extremely light. And in this lightness, when you are in the postures, when you are practicing the asanas, the rajas is pacified. The experience is elevated. You feel quiet not only at the level of the body, mind also quietens. Asana. What is the definition of asana? Sthira sukham asana. The posture which makes you sthira, steady, sukham, brings you comfort, is asana. And asana for the practice of meditation. Sthira sukham asana. The goal is not to do all the yoga postures. The goal is to hold one posture for a longer period of time. The goal is to identify out of so many postures, which is that posture which I can stay into for a longer period of time. Yes. So in asanas, postures have to be mastered one by one, increasing your capacity of being steady and comfortable in the posture. Because if there is discomfort at the level of the body, it will prove to be an hindrance at the level of the mind. Next is pranayama. After asana, prana. When it is outside the body, you call it breath. When it enters the body, what it becomes? Prana, source of energy. So, stretching the breath, improving the quality of the breath with the help of different purification practices in pranayama. So, why do we say working on the breath is important? What are we inhaling? What do we inhale? What exactly in the air? Oxygen. Oxygen has a tendency to oxidize the body. We age because of the oxygen we inhale. You keep iron with oxygen, it will rust. So, with the practice of pranayama, we lengthen the frequency of taking more and more oxygen lessons. There is no degeneration of the organs. They are very much live and healthy. Aging process slows down. Pranayama. extension of the breath. Now once you have done the asanas, the body is tired. Once you have done the pranayam, the mind has become aware. Now what do you do next? After pranayam, pratyahara, withdrawal of senses. Now you are preparing yourself for antaranga, inward looking. Antaranga sadhana. Pratyahara, withdrawal of senses. We practice it every day in meditation. Yes? So you withdraw your senses by acknowledging them every day. After pratyahara, dharana. So while we have one word in the West and other countries which is meditation, Sage Patanjali has beautifully categorized these 3 stages of meditation into dharana, dhyana and samadhi. Dharana is the first, where you are taking an effort to concentrate on the object of meditation. If it's a mantra, if it's a candle flame, you are making an effort. So the stage where you are still making an effort to concentrate is known as dharana. You have held it. Dharan kar liya. Held it. Dhyana, where you are no more making an effort, but the meditation is happening by itself. The mantra is in your ears, it's within you. You are eating, you are walking, you are working, you are constantly in the chanting. Dhyana, where you drop the effort and there is effortless meditation. And samadhi, where the object of the meditation and the meditator become one. Yes, that means the doing falls off. There is stillness, only the object remains. I am doing something falls off. Only the object remains. That is the state of samadhi. What is the goal of yoga? Kaivalya through the state of samadhi. Liberation in this state when the mind has become absolutely still, one with the object of meditation.